When the messages arrived, my heart stopped as if the world had pressed pause. It was not long, not filled with endless explanations or flowery words, but the few lines it carried were so heavy with meaning that they shifted the entire weight of my reality. I read the message once, twice, maybe three times, each repetition pulling me deeper into the gravity of its promise. The words said there was an official date, a date when everything we had been waiting for would be set in motion, simple on the surface, yet carrying the force of a thousand possibilities. My chest tightened, my pulse raced, and for a moment I could not breathe. But then, as the meaning rooted itself in me, a slow, unstoppable smile began to stretch across my face. It was not just hope written in pixels, it was confirmation, evidence, the kind of proof you can hold in your bones. All the patience, the long nights of silence, the careful restraint, and the faith that had carried me this far finally led here, to this moment where what was once abstract became undeniable, where what was imagined began to take shape as reality. I could not remain still after reading it. My body refused. I began pacing the room like someone waiting for a door to open, holding my phone as though it contained the entire world pressed into glass and metal, each second stretched long, heavy with the enormity of what it carried, yet light with the intoxicating current of hope coursing through me. It was a paradox, my steps dragging under the burden of meaning, yet lifted by anticipation. I told myself over and over that I had to be careful, deliberate, cautious about what to do next. Announcing this too soon would strip it of the magic, unveil the delicate wave of patience and secrecy that made it so powerful. Timing was no longer a detail, it was everything, the difference between ordinary and unforgettable. So I resolved not only to prepare for the day itself, but to weave a story around it, a story meant for you, a narrative that would live beyond the date. And before any grand announcement, I began quietly with a small gesture, a short note written with intention. Mark this day, my queen, because soon it will belong to us both. The line was sharp with certainty, yet soft with intimacy, designed to mean nothing to anyone else while carrying the full depth of promise to the one who was meant to read it. That note was intentionally crafted without names, without obvious clues, without anything that could expose it prematurely. It was a whisper meant only for you, subtle enough to protect, yet powerful enough to plant hope in your heart. And hope, as I have learned, is both the strongest fuel and the most fragile flame. Revealed too early, it can collapse under scrutiny. Revealed too late, it risks fading before it reaches its purpose. So I choose to nurture it quietly, feeding it with restraint, guarding it with patience. Meanwhile, the date itself was not just floating words or unconfirmed plans. It was curved into an official document, stamped and verified, exiting beyond belief and beyond imagination. Seeing it written on paper, sealed with authority, elevated it from fantasy into reality. Paper, after all, does not bend as easily as words spoken into ear. Paper carries permanence, a weight that refuses to vanish when doubts arrive, and once something becomes official in ink, the very world begins to rearrange itself to orbit around it. That truth steadied me, kept me from being consumed by wild excitement, and transformed my eagerness into a steady, glowing certainty. In the quiet of my mind, I began rearranging small celebration, imagining them like scenes waiting for their certain to rise. I pictured the way your smile would unfold when you first heard the words, the sound of your laugh spilling into the ear, and the exchange of our first sentences carrying the weight of everything we had prepared for. I planned the light of the room, the feel of the ear, the rhythm of footsteps, even the choice of clothes that would make the atmosphere feel timeless and untouched by the noise of the outside world. Because moments rushed or moments diminished, they crumble under haste, but moments waited for, crafted with patience, are treasures preserved in memory forever. And this day, above all other, deserves to be nothing less than a treasure. The one who carried me this message understood its gravity too. He arrived at the precise hour without announcement, without sound, as though the world itself had choreographed his steps. He handed me the envelope silently, then disappeared before I could offer a word in return. That kind of careful, precise delivery is rare in life, and it told me something vital. This was no ordinary event. When the universe moves with such silence and intention, it means something extraordinary is on its way. I studied the date I studied the date obsessively, holding it against calendars, cross-checking events, eliminating any chance of conflict. Every small alignment mattered because once this day arrived, it would alter everything. Does not stop for anyone. It rushes forward, uncaring of hearts or hopes, but preparation gives us the ability to bend it, to meet it not as victims of chance but as sculptors of destiny. Perfect timing, I realized, is the invisible thread binding all unforgettable memories. To miss that thread is to risk unraveling the tapestry. To hold it tightly is to guarantee brilliance. So I acted carefully. I called a friend I trusted with my life, shared the news not in detail but in essence. I told them that something monumental was approaching, and as I spoke, I watched their eyes widen, their silence deepen, their heads slowly nod. That nod was more than politeness, it was acknowledgement, quiet affirmation, the recognition that a secret carried in silence can become stronger than a shoot proclaimed too soon because secrets held tightly protect their own magic, and when finally revealed, their impact is magnified tenfold. Walking through the streets awkward, I noticed how ordinary everything appeared. The faces of strangers, the hum of life, the shifting shadows cast by afternoon light. None of them knew what I carried. None of them felt the storm of anticipation inside me, yet I could not help but feel that the air itself had changed. Sunlight seemed sharper, shadows seemed deeper, and even the breeze carried an invisible current. Awareness without revelation is a strange kind of power. It lets you move unseen while holding something monumental inside. It is a silent advantage, giving you the time to prepare without interference. In my mind, I mapped the day over and over again from the first step to the final embrace. Every moment mattered. Every pause carried weight. Precision, I realized, was not about being rigged or robotic. It was the art of crafting follow. So perfect, it feels natural, effortless, inevitable, because even though months, maybe years of planning had laid us here, a single misplaced gesture, a single wrong word could shift the entire energy from unforgettable to ordinary. That knowledge did not scare me, it sharpened me, it reminded me that patience must always walk hand in hand with focus. Over and over, I rehearsed words in my head, sentences I might speak, words I longed to hear, lines that could linger in the ear long after they were spoken, echoing in the silence like a melody too beautiful to end. I imagined your laugh breaking into that silence, your voice filling the spaces I had left empty for you, and the warmth that would rise like sunlight filling the room between us. But these rehearsals were not about controlling the future, they were not rigid scripts designed to confine. They were comforts, a way of preparing my heart to step fully into the moment without stumbling. Because when comfort is present, joy flows naturally, and I wanted nothing more than joy to guide us on that day. The official date, however, carried hidden condition, fine print tucked within its certainty. Each detail had to align. Every small alignment accounted for travel, arrangement, and discrete signals, unseen preparations. Nothing could be left to chance because chance is the enemy of certainty, and certainty, once secured, is the gift that allows to hearts to meet without hesitation, without distraction, and without fear. I could already feel the moment before it came, the small glances, the brief pauses, the unspoken confirmation that would make anticipation almost unbearably sweet. Each pause would thicken the tension, each glance would stitch the connection tighter, each heartbeat would echo louder than The last waiting I realized is never empty. It is not a void to endured. It is a crescendo in the making a build of music before the final swell and crescendo. Those peaks of intensity remain long after the first note has faded away. They echo in memory, reminding you again and again of the power of that one perfect moment to ensure this crescendo unfold flawlessly. I turned to a handful of trusted allies, people whose loyalty had proven itself over years, whose discretion was unshakable, whose presence would be invisible yet essential. They became my silent scaffolding, holding steady the weight of the day before it could stand on its own, because even the strongest structure collapses without support, and monumental days are not built on intention alone. They are built on foundations too quiet for anyone else to see. As the official date drew closer, the anticipation grew sharper, but alongside the growing tension came clarity, clarity about what mattered most, what could be discarded, and what absolutely had to be protected. The date had transformed from a number on a page to a symbol, a beacon, a promise of beginnings, and never and every detail I had planned was not just preparation, it was alignment, the subtle choreography of life itself. When that day arrived, all these moving parts would come together, and not scattered efforts, but as one seamless unfolding. I could not stop imagining the exact moment of meeting you, the first look in your eyes, the words that would fall from my lips, the way your smile would break the tension like sunlight splitting through clouds, every plan, every preparation, every hidden move. All of it exited for that one instant, and I knew then, as I now know, that when it arrived, nothing before or after would compare.